Let's move on to Amir Khan now, because after 2 straight defeats, he returns to the ring this very weekend against the unbeaten American Carlos Molina in Los Angeles. Khan, of course, has changed his trainer from Freddie Roach to Virgil Hunter, who also trains Andre Ward. The decision was made after Khan was knocked out by Danny Garcia.
The shot that Garcia caught me with, I don't think many light welterweights, 140-pound fighters would have got up off that fight. He is a very big puncher and hits very hard, but what was in my mind is what I was doing in sparring. I was in the wild, I was going into wars. So when someone hurts you in sparring, you want to knock their head off, you want to go into a war with them. But that's totally got out of my system. I've taken that out of my system now, where now if you do get caught with a shot, you regroup yourself. It's all about thinking instead of jumping in and rushing and making mistakes, because when you're not thinking, that's when you do start making more mistakes and you do start getting caught more. I know it's a make or break fight for me. That's why I've taken it so seriously. We're going to be more than ready in this fight, and we'll be in the best condition ever. Conditioning-wise, boxing-wise, and everything's going to hopefully come together on Saturday, and we're going to win this fight and finish the year off strong, and then that'll put us in a good position coming into next year.
Steve, do you think he's learnt from past mistakes?
No, because when he got knocked out all those years ago by Brennis Prescott for jumping in with his lead foot, he still jumps in with his lead foot. He's a kid that's got one of the biggest hearts in all of my years at ringside and all of my years as a child boxing. I tell you what, he can count. There's very few fighters in front of him with the size of his heart. Maybe Chris Eubank. He's also, like Eubank, a bit foolish. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. Amir Khan's absolutely right. He says, when I was in wars in sparring, because when someone hits you, you want to hurt them back. And that is his problem, Ellie. And as much as I think he desperately wants to control that heart, put it back in his chest, not wear it on his sleeve. Of course, that's what he wants to do. But he gets clipped with a shot. He just forgets it. The problem in the Garcia fight wasn't he got clipped with a shot. It's that by what my understanding is from my chat with him I had in Bolton a couple of months ago, is that everything was going so right. He was in control, in his mind, total control. And he thought he'd stepped the pace up a couple of rounds earlier than what the plan was. So it wasn't even a case of him getting hurt, losing his mind. It was a case of him deciding to go away from the game plan and start chasing Garcia. Garcia couldn't believe his luck. Amir Khan is always just one rash moment away from defeat. And that's also what makes him a big star, both in this country and in America, Ellie.
And how much Sorry, Mike.
I was just going to say, he said after that Bradis Prescott defeat that this is the best thing that ever happened to me. He said after the Danny Garcia knockout earlier this year, things happen for a reason. He comes out with these pithy statements but doesn't learn from them. And I think Steve touched on a really important point, that when you get clipped on the chin, you lose all sense of perspective. All that you're left with is instinct. And Amir Khan's instinct is to fight. And that is what is going to happen, whatever Virgil Hunter does with him. But at least Hunter will maybe, in those moments before he gets hit, have him creating a position where he's in such authority in the fight that he won't need to be taking. And also, and just to cut across you there, Mike, what he needs is that stuff that Robert McCracken did that night with Carl Froch against Arthur Abraham in Finland, when there were 20,000 people baying for Froch's blood, and Robert McCracken in Carl Froch's corner went to the middle of the ring to meet him in every single round, dragged him back, wouldn't sit him down until he'd given him an absolute rollicking and telling Froch to control his emotions. Now, if Hunter can do that, because Roach didn't do that, if Hunter can do that, and if he thinks to do that, that will also help. I'm convinced of it, Mike.